Have you ever looked at the man you love and felt an inexplicable chill? The feeling that in this deal called love, you are paying a disproportionately high price? You give energy, care, youth, and in return you get, what? Tiredness, and the sensation that you are playing a role that wasn't written for you. Society will tell you that this is everyday life. Psychologists will suggest you talk it out. But that's like treating the symptoms without seeing the disease. To understand why modern marriage often becomes a trap for women, we must look into the deepest blueprints of the soul. Carl Jung left us a map of this territory, the concept of the unconscious contract that is signed long before the exchange of rings. For the next hour, we won't just discuss social problems, we will take a deep dive. First, you will understand why the strongest and most caring women often find themselves in energetically detrimental unions. Second, you will learn which psychological task your soul is actually solving through this disappointment. And third, most importantly, you will see the path to reclaiming your power, not through war with the man, but through forging an alliance with yourself. If you are ready to see what is hidden behind the beautiful facade, our journey inward begins right now. Let's talk about that silence. The silence that descends after the routine question. How was your day? Has been asked. It rings in your ears. In it are unspoken reproaches, buried dreams, and a dull, aching longing for something real. Do you remember how it all started? Laughter, talking until morning, the feeling that you had finally met your person. It seemed that together you would build not just a family, but an entire universe, full of meaning and warmth. And now you look at your life and realize that you have become the chief architect, builder, and caretaker of a building where you yourself lack air. You are the project manager for a project called family, the logistician, the psychologist, the cook, the nanny. You are a function, efficient, indispensable, but a function. And somewhere deep inside, in the most secret corner of your heart, the little girl who once dreamed of a great love is quietly crying. She is crying because she feels cheated. And the most terrifying thing is that she cannot point a finger at the deceiver. He did not deceive her. She was deceived by the entire system, the entire culture that sold her this script as the only possible happiness. And the worst part of this is the feeling of guilt. I'm a bad wife. I want too much. Other people manage somehow. This internal voice, saturated with shame, whispers that the problem is with you, in your inability to appreciate what you have. It makes you feel lonely in your experience, as if you are the only one who failed at the simple task of being happy. Let me tell you one thing, and let it ring like a bell in this deafening silence. What you are feeling is not a sign of your flaw, it is a sign of your health. Yes, that's right. Your soul is rebelling. It is rebelling against a deal that your consciousness agreed to out of fear, out of hope, out of social pressure. This rebellion is not a symptom of a disease that needs curing. It is the work of your internal immune system fighting the poison of falsehood. This quiet yet persistent voice of protest is the most valuable thing you have. It is your life force refusing to submit to a slow death in the golden cage of comfort and predictability. What if this disappointment is not a curse, but a gift? What if this crisis is not the end of your relationship, but the beginning of your relationship with yourself? What if the man beside you, without even knowing it, is playing the role of a catalyst that must awaken in you the power you voluntarily gave him to hold? Understand this. The psyche never does anything without a reason. It is not trying to torment you. It is striving for wholeness. Every sting of disappointment, every tear of exhaustion, it is not a system malfunction. It is the needle of a compass. This crisis, this pain, this feeling of total unfairness, it is not a dead end. It is an invitation to set out in search of what was lost, given away, forgotten. Your pain is a compass, infallibly pointing to a buried treasure. And that treasure is your authentic, unfulfilled power, yourself. And to understand this paradox, to learn to read the map that our pain gives us, we must first take one necessary, albeit painful step. We must ruthlessly and honestly deconstruct the myths about love and marriage upon which our entire modern world is built. Imagine your relationship as a building. For too long, we have tried to re-wallpaper and hang beautiful pictures, ignoring the cracks in the load-bearing walls. Our next step is to go down to the basement. We must see what the foundation of this building is truly made of before deciding whether we want to live in it. We must understand why it so often becomes cold and lonely in its rooms. And only after this honest audit can we make an informed decision about the future, not only of this union, but of your entire life. Let's look at the three main band-aids we so desperately try to use to cover this gaping wound. The first and most popular, the problem is everyday life. We convince ourselves that great love was broken on the rocks of dirty dishes, scattered socks, and unemptied trash. We tell ourselves that the romance left because of the mortgage in exhaustion. But this is self-deception. Everyday life is merely the stage on which a deeper drama is being played out. Arguments about money or mess are almost never about money or mess. They are desperate, clumsy attempts to talk about balance, respect, recognition, and energy. Everyday life only highlights the cracks that were already in the foundation. The second band-aid, the problem is communication. We read books on love languages, learn to use I statements, try to actively listen. These are useful tools, but they are like learning the grammar of a language your interlocutor doesn't know in principle. What is the point of beautiful words if, on an unconscious level, you are speaking languages that are not just different, but belong to different universes? You consciously ask for closeness, and he unconsciously hears a demand. He consciously talks about plans, and you unconsciously hear the devaluation of your feelings. And the third, most insidious band-aid, the problem is with me or with him. We either plunge into the abyss of self-flagellation, finding more and more flaws in ourselves, or we demonize the partner, labeling him an egoist and an abuser or a narcissist. But both paths lead to a dead end, because you are both actors in a play whose script was not written by you. It was written by the collective unconscious, by family histories, and by cultural myths that you are both unconsciously playing out. And as long as you blame the actors, you will never see the true author of this drama. All of this everyday life, arguments, silence, are just symptoms. And the real disease lies deeper. To see it, imagine that your relationship is a company. This company has a conscious, official business plan: love, children, a shared future, a mortgage. All of this is written in the charter, sealed with a stamp in the passport, and displayed in family photos. This is what you show the world in yourselves. But as in any large business, there is also a shadow unofficial accounting. This black ledger accounts for the invisible, but most valuable resource: psychic energy. This is your attention, your belief in him, your ability to smooth over rough edges, your life force that goes into maintaining the emotional climate in the home. This resource is not written into any marriage contract, but it is precisely what determines whether the company will thrive or go bankrupt. And this is where we get to the very essence of this video's title. Marriage becomes unprofitable for a woman when she, without realizing it, becomes the main and sole investor in this shadow economy. She invests her energy in his growth, in his comfort, in his emotional stability. She becomes the invisible fuel that powers his career, his hobbies, his peace of mind. And the man, especially the psychologically impoverished one that is, immature, out of touch with his own soul, with his own inner source, becomes a passive consumer of this energy. He is not malicious. He is simply used to someone else refilling his account. First, it was his mother who solved his problems and believed in his huge potential. Now it's you. And your tiredness, the total exhaustion we talked about at the beginning, it is not just exhaustion from work and daily life. It is the monthly statement of funds transferred from your psychic account to his. It is a statement from the shadow bank that screams to you that you are on the verge of bankruptcy. You look at him and see that he is calm, stable, moving forward. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and don't understand where your own life went. It was transferred to his account. This might sound like a theory, but let's test it against your personal experience. Right now, And now I want to ask you to do something important. Do this for yourself. Please pause this video. Find a quiet place if you can. Close your eyes, take a deep breath and exhale, and remember. Remember the last time you felt absolutely, completely drained next to your man. It could have been the end of a long day, a moment after an argument, or even a quiet family dinner. Catch that moment, return to it. And now while there, ask yourself a few honest questions. Whose life were you living in that moment? Whose problems were you solving? Whose emotions were you, like the finest instrument, adjusting and servicing? Whose ambitions were you supporting with your invisible labor? Whose fears were you lulling with your warmth, forgetting about your own? Don't just think about it. Feel it in your body. Feel how your energy, like a river, flows out of you and pours into him. It is not a rushing torrent, but a quiet, almost imperceptible leak that has been happening for years. Feel this subtle but constant current flowing from you to him. Remember this feeling. Anchor it in your body. This is not just tiredness. It is the starting point of our healing. It is the physical, tangible proof of the existence of that very unconscious contract. A contract you never consciously signed, but for which you faithfully pay every day from the most valuable capital you possess, your life force. And this feeling you just captured, this feeling of energetic donation, is not your unique problem. It is not a personal curse. It is an archetypal drama playing out for centuries in the souls of millions of women. It is a universal law of the psyche that works with the precision of gravity, even if we are unaware of it. And Carl Jung was one of the first to not only see this drama, but to give it a precise, almost surgical name. He called it the projection of the animus. What does this mean? A woman naturally full of inner strength, potential, spirit. What Jung called the animus, her inner masculine principle. Not finding a direct application for this wealth in a world that often limits her, does something paradoxical. She hangs all of this inner light onto the man, like a Christmas tree. She sees in him not just a person, but a carrier of her own unrealized qualities, her courage, her wisdom, her creative fire. She falls in love not with the real him, with all his weaknesses and limitations. She falls in love with the dazzling potential that she herself has invested in him. She tries to grow him, like her most precious flower, investing all her care, all her faith into him. She becomes his muse, his support, his source of energy, hoping that one day he will blossom and reveal to the world the greatness she sees in him. But she doesn't understand the main thing. She is trying to water a reflection in the mirror. The true garden that requires her care, her light, and her love is not outside. It is inside her. This garden is her own unrevealed strength, her unrealized talents, her suppressed voice. And now, leaving external problems aside for a moment, we will enter this garden. We will figure out what the animus is, how its projection works, and why reclaiming this power for yourself is the only path to true freedom. So what is the animus that Jung spoke of? Forget the simplified, almost cartoonish definition of the inner man. It is not some imaginary macho living in your head. The truth is much deeper and more majestic. Imagine that inside every woman's psyche there is an invisible, but absolutely real structure. A bridge. This bridge leads from the world of feelings, emotions, intuition, and being, the traditionally feminine world, into the world of logos. This is the world of meaning, spirit, order, structure, and purposeful action. It is the territory where formless ideas gain clarity, where emotions turn into decisions, and dreams turn into projects. The animus is this bridge. It is your inner ability to give your life meaning, to set boundaries, to follow your path, and to act in the world with clear intention. When this bridge is weak, unfinished, or the woman is unaware of its existence, she instinctively seeks it in the external world. In childhood, a strong father can be this bridge. In youth, a charismatic teacher, and in adulthood, a man. And this is where the mysterious act of psychological alchemy that Jung called projection occurs. The woman looks at the man and overlays onto him the blueprint of her own unbuilt inner bridge. She sees in him not just a person, but the embodiment of logos. She tells herself, "He is my meaning. He is my support. He is my way. Through him, my life gains structure. Through his ambitions, my own find a voice. She voluntarily gives him the keys to her inner world, to her kingdom of logos. And the psychologically impoverished man, the one who lacks the keys to his own inner world, takes them with joy and relief. This creates the perfect symbiosis, a deadly trap disguised as great love. He depends on her psychic energy, which lights his way and gives him strength. She, in turn, depends on his function of being her meaning, her structure, her bridge to the external world. But any bridge built externally on another person is built on geologically unstable ground, and it is destined to collapse one day, not out of malice, but out of a deep cosmic necessity. It must collapse to force you, finally, with your own blueprints and your own hands, to begin the sacred work of building this bridge within yourself. To prevent this concept from remaining an abstraction and to make it come alive, let me tell you a story. The story of Jessica and Michael. Meet Jessica. By day, she is a brilliant strategist in a large corporation, a woman capable of managing multi-million-dollar budgets and complex projects. Her mind is sharp, her will is strong. But at night, when the office lights go out, she feels a dull ache. In her soul, she is a poet, a philosopher. She dreams of a life full of meaning, creativity, and spiritual depth. But she doesn't know how to build a bridge to it. And then she meets Michael. He is a free spirit. He despises the system in which Jessica is so successful. He talks about high matters, quotes Rimbaud, and is writing a brilliant novel, though he's been writing it for 10 years. In his eyes, Jessica sees not infantilism and procrastination, but rebellion, freedom, and spirituality. She looks at him and sees not an unemployed man, but the living embodiment of her own unrealized inner poet and philosopher. Her animus has found its screen. The projection is launched. Jessica falls in love not with Michael, but with his potential. She enters into an unspoken contract with him. She will take on all the prose of life so he can create its poetry. She begins to support him, creating ideal conditions for creativity. She works 2 jobs, and in the evenings, instead of writing her own poems, she edits his clumsy chapters, inspiring and encouraging him. She is his animus in the flesh, and he is merely an empty screen onto which she has projected her own unfilmed movie. Years pass, 5, 7. The novel remains unwritten. Michael lives comfortably at her expense, pontificating on the futility of existence. And Jessica, one evening, after another 16-hour workday, looks at her reflection in the dark screen of the monitor, and she sees not the muse of a genius, but a tired, driven horse. In that moment, the projection rips apart. With a deafening, painful clarity, she realizes his spirituality was just a beautiful facade for his infantilism and fear of life. And the true creator, strategist, and sole source of energy in their couple was always her. She tried to build a bridge to meaning through him, not realizing that all this time, she herself was that bridge. Jessica's story is not about Americans. It is about you. Perhaps listening to it, you thought, my husband is not an artist, he is a successful programmer, or mine is a good man, he works hard for the family. But the essence is not in the profession or in his personal qualities. The essence is in the psychological function he performs for you. Your Michael might not be a bohemian creator, but a hardworking businessman, a reliable engineer, or a soulful laborer. This does not change the essence of the drama. The question is not who he is. The question is what part of your soul you gave him. Think about this deeply and honestly. What part of yourself did you delegate to him? Your courage. Did you give him the right to take risks and make big decisions while you stayed to manage the safe home front? Your wisdom? Did you give him the role of the smart one in the couple, the one who understands everything, while you agreed to the role of the one who feels? Your ability to generate ideas? Did you whisper your brilliant thoughts to him so he could then voice them as his own, and you rejoiced in his success? Your connection to the divine, to the world of the spirit? Did you give him the role of your guru, your guide to meaning, because you were afraid to seek that meaning independently? You gave this to him not because you are weak. On the contrary, You gave it away because you are strong and it frightened you. Being a strong, smart, creative, spiritually searching woman in our world is still scary. It can be lonely. It can seem unfeminine. It is much easier and safer to package all this wealth, tie it with a ribbon, and hand it to a man. It is much easier to inspire him, standing behind his back, than to step onto the stage yourself under the spotlights. But the price of this safety is your own life. That is why you feel disappointed. It is not that he failed to meet your expectations. It is that your own projected potential could not be realized through him because he is a different person with a different path and different tasks. Your disappointment in him is actually your soul's longing for itself. It is your own unrealized animus knocking on the door of your consciousness from within, using his imperfection as an excuse to knock. It tells you, enough, it's time to come home. Time to come to me. And now let's make this even more specific. I want to ask you a second, even deeper question. This is not a test or an exam. This is a key to the part of your soul that you gave away for safekeeping and perhaps have already forgotten what it looks like. Remember the very beginning of your relationship, that magical phase when he seemed almost perfect to you, when the projection was at its strongest and brightest. Think about the quality in your man that you most admired back then. What was it? His sharp mind, his ability to analyze and break everything down, his unshakable calm in any storm, his sparkling sense of humor that could dispel any shadow, or maybe his ambition, his confidence, the ease with which he went through life, or his creative audacity. Choose one, the most important quality that was a magnet for you. And now, holding that quality in mind, ask yourself the most important and, perhaps, the most uncomfortable question. How is this quality manifested, or more likely unmanifested, in your own life? Is your boundless admiration for him not, in fact, a longing for this undeveloped part of yourself? Was it not because you doubted your own mind that you so admired his? Was it not because you clung so tightly to his calmness that you did not know how to find silence within yourself? Was it not because his ambitions so lured you that you were afraid to admit to your own, considering them unfeminine or inappropriate? And this is where I want to invite you to do something more than just think about it. I invite you to share your discovery in the comments under this video. This does not require long stories. Just write using the formula. I projected insert that quality onto him because I was afraid or didn't know how to develop it in myself. For example, I projected courage onto him because I was afraid to take risks myself. Or I projected creative freedom onto him because I wouldn't allow myself to be impractical. This will be an incredibly powerful act of recognition, an act that brings the unconscious into the light of consciousness. Let's create a space of absolute honesty under this video. Reading the comments of others, you will find with surprise and relief that you are not alone in this drama, that hundreds, thousands of women have projected their strength, their wisdom, their freedom onto men. This simple comment is not just words, it is the first step toward retracting the projection, the first step toward getting yourself back. So the projection collapses, and it is painful. It feels like a betrayal, not just on his part, but on the part of life itself. The world that seemed reliable and understandable crumbles into dust. The man you considered your support turns out to be a mirror reflecting your own invisible light. And when the mirror breaks, it feels as if you yourself have shattered. This is a moment of existential coldness and loneliness. But in the ancient science of the soul, in alchemy, there is a fundamental principle. That which is below is like that which is above. In psychology, this sounds like, what causes the greatest pain conceals the greatest potential for growth. Your disappointment is not just a wound, it is a portal. It is the point of maximum pressure where ordinary carbon has a chance to turn into a diamond. Your pain is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign that a great and sacred process of transformation has begun within you. Therefore, understand, your crisis is not a tragedy. It is an alchemical furnace. And the man who disappointed you is not your enemy. He is an unwitting alchemist who simply added fuel to the fire. A fire that was necessary. A fire that had to burn your illusions of external salvation to the ground. A fire that had to separate your true essence from your fears and dependencies. This fire had to melt down the heavy, dull lead of your suffering and disappointment into the pure, shining gold of yourself. And as soon as you see this, everything changes. Stop asking the question, why is he doing this to me? Start asking the question, for what purpose did my soul create this situation? Stop seeing him as the cause of your pain. See him as the catalyst for your growth. Thank him mentally, not for the pain inflicted, but for the incredible power that this pain is awakening in you right now. You are standing on the threshold of returning home, to yourself, and he, without even knowing it, has simply pointed you to the door. But what does it mean to learn from this fire? What specifically should be done? Leave? Stay? Issue ultimatums? Try to change him? The psyche tells us all of these are external actions. They are attempts to rearrange the furniture in a burning house. The work must be internal. It must begin with one single, yet most difficult step. The main task is to retract the projection. Imagine that your projected power is a beam from a powerful spotlight that you have directed at him for years, illuminating his path and making his figure significant and large. Retracting the projection is to consciously, with a willful effort, turn this spotlight 180 degrees and direct it onto yourself. This means stopping waiting for him to become your meaning and starting to look for that meaning in your own soul. Stopping demanding that he be your support and starting to cultivate your own inner core. Stopping hoping that he will be your protector and starting to build your own psychological boundaries. This means taking your light, your energy, your wisdom back, home. And this is incredibly scary. Do you know why? Because as soon as you take back your energy, as soon as you turn off that flattering spotlight, two things will happen. First, you will see the real him, not a god, not a savior, not a monster, but just a person. With his strengths and his gaping holes, without embellishment. And second, and this is even scarier, you will see the real you, with all your power. And power is not only opportunity, but also immense responsibility. Responsibility for your life, for your decisions, for your happiness. There will be no one left to blame. There will be no one left to hide behind. And only from this point of absolute, almost ruthless honesty can a decision be made. Should you build a new, adult, partnership relationship with this real person who is no longer your deity? Or, thanking him for the lesson, should you go your own way, illuminating it with your own, not reflected, light? Any decision made before this moment will be merely an escape from yourself. But how do you do this practically? How do you retract the projection, not just in words, but in deed? It's not a switch you can just flip. It is a process. And for this process, I will give you one tool that Jung himself considered one of the most powerful in his arsenal. It is called active imagination. It sounds complicated, but in practice, it is very simple and accessible to everyone. Here is what you need to do. The next time you feel a pang of irritation, resentment, or disappointment in your partner, stop. Take a pause. Your first habitual reaction is to unleash it on him in the form of an accusation, criticism, or icy silence. Don't do that. That only feeds the old destructive dynamic. Instead, tell yourself, this is a signal. My soul wants to talk to me. Isolate yourself even for 15 minutes. In the bathroom, in the car, on the balcony, anywhere you won't be disturbed. Sit down, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then mentally address that feeling, the irritation, the resentment, the longing, and ask it two simple questions. The first, what do you really want from me? Not from him, for me. And the second, what part of my strength, what forgotten part of me are you trying to return to me through this pain? And after that, just be silent and listen. Don't try to think up the answer with your head. The answers will come on their own. Perhaps in the form of a sudden image, or a single word, or a bodily sensation. Your irritation at his passivity might answer, I want you to start acting yourself. Your resentment at his inattention might say, I want you to give yourself attention and care. Your disappointment in his indecision might whisper, I am your own unrealized decisiveness. Write down everything that comes to you in a journal without criticism or analysis. By doing this regularly, you will initiate a revolution. You will stop using your husband as a trash can for your frustrations. You will start a dialogue not with him, but with your animus. You will begin to build that inner bridge, brick by brick. This is the beginning of the journey home. This is the practical alchemy of the soul. And by doing this practice day after day, you will understand the main thing. Your task is not to become profitable on the marriage market. Your task is to become whole. Society teaches a woman to be a good catch, beautiful, convenient, caring, non-confrontational. These are all external attributes aimed at getting you chosen. But the path of the soul lies in a completely different direction. It leads to wholeness. A woman who has integrated her animus, who has built her inner bridge to the world of meaning and action, stops playing in this market. She leaves it. She does not look for someone to lean on. She herself is the support. She does not look for someone to give meaning to her life. She herself is the source of meaning. She does not wait for a man to solve her problems, because she herself becomes the force that solves problems. Let me be frank, such women are not convenient. They can be complex, demanding. They ask uncomfortable questions. They will not be silent when their boundaries are violated. They will not invest their energy in a man who does not invest in himself. They do not save. They do not service someone else's infantilism. But they are alive. A genuine, indestructible life force pulsates within them, and they build relationships of a completely different order, not out of need, but out of abundance, not out of psychological poverty, but out of inner richness. They enter into a union not to fill a void, but to share their fullness with another equally full and whole person. This is the true profit that our world is silent about. The profit is not in successfully marrying a rich man, but in becoming a source of inexhaustible inner wealth yourself. This profit is not economic, but existential, and it is accessible to each of you. We have come a long way, from the quiet pain of disappointment to the dazzling understanding of projection, from the feeling of victimhood to the realization of your alchemical power. We descended into the darkest basements of the soul to find there not monsters, but forgotten treasures. And here is the main insight that I want you to take with you, like the most valuable talisman. Marriage becomes an unprofitable deal for a woman, not when the man earns little, but when she herself sells her soul cheaply. This happens when she gives away her inner strength, her right to meaning, her divine right to self-realization in exchange for the illusion of security and love. When she agrees to be a function, not an essence, to be a reflection, not a source of light. When she gives the keys to her inner castle to another person, hoping that he will make her happy, and not understanding that the very act of handing over the keys is the source of her unhappiness. Therefore, remember, true wealth is not a joint bank account and not square meters of property. True wealth is direct, unmediated access to the treasures of your own unconscious, to your power, your wisdom, your wholeness. This is capital that no one can take away from you, and that will never depreciate. This is not just a beautiful idea, it is a seed. And if you allow it to sprout, imagine what your garden will become. Imagine your life a year from now if you begin this inner journey. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You do less, but your actions are more precise and effective. The restless, anxious energy aimed at pleasing everyone, controlling everything, and anticipating everything disappears. In its place comes calm, grounded confidence. You no longer wait for him to make you happy. You yourself become the source of your happiness. The emotional void that he was supposed to fill with his attention and approval begins to heal from within, nourished by your own self-respect. Your relationship may change beyond recognition. It may become infinitely deeper and more honest, transforming into a union of two strong, equal individuals. Or it may end, because the light of your truth will drive out everything that is not genuine. This is a path that does not guarantee external success, but it gives one the most important guarantee. No matter what happens externally, an unshakable core will grow within you. The core of yourself, and you will always be able to lean on it. And before we finish, I want to thank you. Not for watching, not for your time, but for your courage. for the courage to look into the most painful corners of your soul without looking away, for the readiness to question everything you believed, for the fortitude to endure the truth, which can be inconvenient and even destructive. This journey is not for everyone. Most people will prefer to stay on the surface, content with simple answers and quick solutions. Those who have reached this point are not just viewers. You are seekers. You are alchemists of your soul, willing to descend into the darkness to find the light there. And the most important thing I want you to feel right now, you are not alone. At this very second, thousands just like you are going through their own alchemical furnaces, asking the same questions, and seeking the same way home. There are many of us, and this space is one of the places where we can find each other. If this journey resonated with your soul, if you feel the call to continue this deep exploration, subscribe to this channel. Consider it not just a click, but your personal declaration of intent to continue on this path deeper into yourself. Every like and every comment you leave is not just a number for the algorithm, it is a signal fire lit in the night. It is a quiet declaration that says, I am here, I am searching. It is a sign that there are more of us. Your actions help this work find others who are wandering in the same darkness, looking for the same light. You are helping to build this lighthouse for those who are still sailing in the fog. Click the bell to not miss the next chapter in our shared work. This is an invitation to our next meeting, to the next immersion into the mysteries of the soul. And now, before you close this tab and return to your world, do one last thing. Take a deep, conscious breath. Feel the air filling your lungs. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Return to your body, to this very moment. And remember, the most important, most sacred, and most profitable marriage you can make is the marriage with yourself.